Hello. Reportage magazine, an international magazine of photojournalism, issue 1, summer 93, price £3.50. This is sort of my youth sitting here because I was a student then, and this was, I think, after the Independent on Saturday was a big part of my life, as it would be many photographers my age, I presume. Colin Jacobson was the editor of the Independent magazine, if I'm correct, and this was his next step, I think, in his reportage editing and publishing part of his life. This was just everything to me at the time. So let's have a measure of it. It's magazine size. It's very similar to the size of the Independent on Saturday magazine. So it's 10 by 14. Colin Jacobson sort of introduced me to the world, really, with this magazine and the Independent magazine too. Now let's have a look through it. This is sponsored by Metro. Metro is still around. I think I must have invested a house worth of money to Metro over the years. Metro in central London was one of the main places us photographers used to hang out there 24 hours in the 90s and the zeros, and even now, putting our films through and testing them and stuff like that. Anyway, so they were in full swing then, Metro, so they were sponsoring this. So let's have a little look through it. I know this picture really well. It's a Salgado. I actually have a big picture of this on my wall at home. I've got it in a big frame. I've spent many hours looking at this Gdansk, Poland 1990 shot, the launch of a new ship. It's amazing. Well, I come from a place in the northeast which has a shipyard or had a shipyard and stuff, so this has always been a bit of a fascination for me, and just having a Salgado like this has intrigued me, this shot, for 20 odd years. I just absolutely love it. Each one of these magazines comes with a poster. Now I have 3 of these reportage magazines and I have 3 posters, but I think I've muddled them up because I'm not sure if this poster I have here comes with this particular one. So somebody somewhere will go, no, wrong poster. But what you get in here, just wait till you see this. I have not opened this since about 1991 or something, and it's in really good condition. It's Christopher Pillet's Network Easter Parade in Seville. Check that out. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't it just gorgeous? I think Olympus Cameras sponsored this. I remember Olympus being down and near to Wet Network Photographer's office. Everybody was down at EC area in the 90s, and I do remember an Olympus place near Old Street Roundabout, and Metro were just up towards Farringdon. So everybody knew each other in that area, and I think Network was sort of running the show a little bit for me, even though there was sort of, in the 90s there was Salgado and Magnum and other Impact were there, Camera Press. But for me, I think Network for me were the boys leading the way from my personal view, and I aspired to become part of Network, and sadly I didn't get there. I do know the guys and actually got to know them better once the years got on, but they folded the agency, and I have no idea to this day why the heck Network is still not going, because amazing photographers on Network. Anyway, so I hope you're jealous of that poster. That poster's still in mint condition, not touched it. Anyway, let's have a look. So it's obviously story-led, it's black and white feature-led. So we've got Jean-Louis Courtinat, Cocoon. The boy holds his parents' hands as the plastic bubble in which he has lived for 7 months begins to deflate. So the show of a young Spanish boy emerging from a sterilized plastic bubble which he'd lived for 7 months. He's in Necker Hospital in Paris, a bone marrow graft, and I think it's about his recuperation and recovery. And he'd be a grown man now, I hope. So you know, heartfelt story, beautiful pictures. Let's drop this a little bit. Let's get the poster out of the way. This is, I'm not sure what date the story was, but I presume it's about 89, 90, 1990. So this is nearly 30 years old. And it puzzles me why we still haven't got this stuff around now. And there have been other people in the industry who bring in amazing magazines out, Photojournalism, John Levy. Who else? There are other photography magazines, and I do have some bits and bobs, and obviously there's British Journal of Photography, but nothing like sort of what these did and what Photojournalism did, you know, and why aren't these people doing, well, why don't we have this sort of stuff, you know? David Modell, Money for Nothing, Betting in Britain. Oh, great shot, look at that. David Modell was really kicking it then as well. I do remember aspiring to David's work. And this, what's this story? Betting in Britain, literally that. So we've got the bookmakers, we've got here, and we have Peter Topham. Peter Popham, my apologies, Peter. He wrote a lot of the text for this, I remember, and he wrote A Gambler's Tale here. So we've got the races, we've got, I guess this is the races as well. Look at that old £10 note. And we've got in the bookies and stuff like that, off the track, on the track, at the dogs. Yeah, I like that. Good bets, betting slips. Look at that, look at the aftermath. Check that out. I'm covering a bit of the text here because I think I don't want to give Peter's copyright too much of a free hand to other people. You know, if you want to have a look at this, I think we should buy it, see if you can get a hold of it. It's still around. You can pick it up in eBay and Amazon and a few other places. So this is Daniel Meadows. Oh, great photography, Daniel. Set up, actress Hannah King being filmed from the waist up while standing on the wooden blocks. So such props are known in the film trade as Paganini, supposedly after 19th century musician Paganini for the, oh, I'm mumbling. So I guess, is this to bring her up to his height? Something like that? I have no idea. But anyway, behind the scenes set up, great one-off shot, love it. Beautiful, great shoot. Great photographer, Daniel Meadows. Another favourite photographer of mine is Larry Towell. I've sort of met Larry, I've edited his stuff, I've worked a little bit with Larry. He will not remember me. It was many, many years ago, just after this actually, when he won World Press. A farm in La Botella in North Mexican desert is an isolated colony founded in the 1920s by the Mennonite exiles from Canada. Look at that. Beautiful. It's somewhat almost like the FSA type photography from the farm security stuff in the 30s and 20s, man. It's amazing. And you know, that's like 50, 60 years later, and it's still got a feeling of that sparseness and sort of a culture lost in time. They look great through the LCD as I'm looking through them here. Look at that. And Larry's such a great photographer, and I think he still lives on a farm in Canada somewhere, and is a farmer by trade, and he's a photographer by probably passion and drive, basically. Witold Krassowsky, I remember Witold's work. The Silly Season, Summer Balls. Yeah, I remember this now. What I do with these is they're sitting in my boxes at home, they're sitting on bookshelves, and I'm just pulling stuff off the shelves, not even opened some of this for a long time. And you can see the condition of this is pretty good. So this is all fresh to me, so I'm just sort of getting to grasp with it. I don't want to research it, I just want to go on feeling. I'm going to make mistakes, I don't care. I'm just giving you an opportunity to see the pictures. You can put the sound on mute by all means, and if you just want to have a look at the pictures. This is 4 summer balls, 2 in Oxford and 2 in Cambridge, so it's quite sort of middle class, upper class sort of students, people, I guess. The Contenders, Georgia Fiorio. Where's this at? New York, Brooklyn. I took the subway to a gym and I went, okay, this is in Queens. The Contenders. Jerome Boxing Club in Bronx. All right, so they're all in Harlem, I guess that, right? Okay, so left the former World Championship Centre with his manager, Don King. Okay, so it's called the Contenders. All about the young guys and with aspirations to become great fighters. Tyson was one of my heroes. I just, you know, in hindsight, Tyson might not be a great role model to some and stuff, but when he was a boxer at his prime and he was fine, I loved him. He was amazing. Shots at the Truth. Now, this is to Colin, this is Mike Goldwater, I'm sure. And that is Mike Abrahams, yeah. Now, I think both network guys, I think what Colin's doing here is to sort of talk about how pictures can be changed, and it's, you know, this is 1990, and now we're in a society where at a touch of a button you can just change stuff really quickly, and we take it for granted, and students do take it for granted to sort of just twist and crop and colour things in just at in a minute, in faster than you can blink, you know. But then, you know, there was manipulation because it all came about in the darkroom, and it came about in design packages. I think around 1990 it would be Quark and stuff like that. I think what Colin has brought to our attention is the way magazines, I think this is a Telegraph feature, and how they juxtapose two of Mike's pictures to give off a different meaning, and I think they were shot at certain times. I think it was about a reflection of Band Aid, Live Aid, or whatever you call it, in 85, and this is sort of 91 and 85. So there was a massive sort of outcry in the 80s for help people in Ethiopia, and then there was a sort of reflection later. I went out about 8 years after that and covered it myself. Is incredible, and so that is, you just bring it into sort of conversation, and I think that's really important. We sort of forget about this, and I think there's a beauty and openness about people talking about why they've changed stuff and why they've done it, and it's all about honesty, you know. And there are and have been people over the last 10, 20 years who have changed pictures and been found out and been sort of exercised from the community, and they won competitions or stuff, and they were completely taken off, and rightly so, because there's a thing about changing stuff and about being honest with it, and I think being honest with it and saying, look, I've changed this for this reason, I think it's acceptable now. But I think trying to lie to people for a simple reason to gain something for yourself is wrong. And I like the way Mike Abrahams has discussed in here, and about how in the darkroom process he's sort of, you can see the original picture there. Let me come down on this. He's got the original picture there of the young boy with asthma from Grangetown, and I was actually in that area in 1990. That's where I grew up, and it was one that's supposed to be on the dirtiest parts of the UK, I think, and with all the chemical works, and then this sort of young kid had asthma, so this was like the mother and the oxygen or whatever they were having, and the Virgin Mary up there, and how he used a black like he sort of darkened it, and I think it works beautifully. And if I thought about it, I think it was probably the problem with the film, knowing film and knowing how light works, but I never questioned it. I just took it for granted. It was one of them sort of gritty, looking through something black and white shots, and I think he got away with it. I think he delivered a beautiful message, and I think we got the message straight away. This, when you think about it now, may, you know, with a sort of open space here, you may not have had the sort of strike rate of the shot. And I think this is the machine which he's blowing into or breathing into, and he's just, with that stripe, it's proved irrelevant. It doesn't matter. So I think we've got something really poignant here, because it's symbolised stuff: the kid, the oxygen mask, the mother, and the mother, in a sense, the religious aspect of death and life. I think it's beautiful. Nice one, Mike, and well done for just putting it out there. And even though it was 28 years ago, that you sort of changed something for a purpose, and I think it worked. Hang 'em High, John Bryson. Look at that. That's sick. Wow. Can you imagine that now? Somebody going, putting that in a magazine. You see people with dead sort of giraffes and that, tigers, and now in the media, and everybody goes nuts. Check that out. I find that horrible. And even though I like meat, but why would you want to sit around that much death? Anyway, so yeah, it's really interesting. I wouldn't want to sit around all that, I have to admit. So this is just a thanks to and lots of people. So yeah, it's fantastic. So thank you to the subscribers. A lot of names I know there: Zed Nelson, Mark Power, Glenn Griffiths, Mike Abrahams, Eve Arnold, Richard Amateur Hall. There's lots of sort of people associated with this who've helped. So, and there's a little bit of dialogue on the photographer. So I have this lovely magazine, and I have an amazing poster. And I'd love to see something else out there, which is like this now. It is amazing. Thank you.